Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here. Unlike the Minister, I do have some notes. But when I was drafting this, thinking about what am I going to talk about, and I was asked to specifically mention what we're doing in the UK, I thought about it's the what, the when, and the why. And actually, I have twice as many whys than the what and the when. Now, as an engineer, it's really great to be here, because looking around these vehicles, it's such a wonderful sight, the history of motoring. And it occurs to me actually that we're probably on the cusp of setting a change of direction in vehicles, because all of these vehicles relied on one thing, that was a driver, and we're moving now to this kind of highly automated vision, and I think in a few years' time we will have driverless cars, and that's kind of where the UK is at the moment. What are we going to do about driverless cars? So, some of you will probably know that last year it was announced by the Chancellor of our Exchequer, almost the second highest politician in the country, that we would set up a trial in a town or city of driverless cars. Now that's a real challenge actually. What do we mean by driverless cars? Well, I think as a policy official and an engineer, I think that really means a highly automated car. Others in the room and some of the people we had in the session this morning think that you can have really driverless cars now. I think we're going to build up to that over the next few years, but we have a vision for that in the UK and we are now in the programme of making that work. But the other thing we're doing, and this comes back to what was mentioned earlier on in the session on vehicles, is thinking not just about cars. We're thinking about other transport modes. So the trials that we're about to announce, probably in the next couple of weeks, will not only have a driverless car or a highly automated car, but will also have another land-based transport system. Now that may be a goods vehicle, it might be a passenger transport vehicle, it might even be a personalised or pedestrian type of pod. Those things are available and we think that's a way forward. So look to the UK press, you'll see the announcements quite shortly. Now, in conjunction with having the trials, we've heard pretty much consistently for a number of months now, there's a problem with regulation. How can you do that in a safe way? The Vienna Convention often gets mentioned. Now the UK, for those of you that are interested in this, we signed the convention but we didn't ratify it. Now what that means actually is that we've got a lot more flexibility because we haven't got the issues of the Vienna Convention enshrined in British law. So we observe the principles of free movement, but we have more flexibility now today than a lot of other countries have. And therefore, ministers also said, right, let's do a review of regulations. And I want that published by the end of this year. So my team's studiously working away back in London at the moment, finalising the report that will set the scene for how we're going to amend our regulations to allow driverless cars and highly automated vehicles. So another kind of key step in the UK's progress on this. A third thing, thinking about the broader issues of autonomous and highly automated vehicles, is heavy vehicle platooning. Some of you will know all about the Sartre project. That was an EU-funded project, really successful. We took that knowledge last year and did a feasibility study to work out could we apply that technology to the UK trunk road network? And the answer is probably yes. So ministers earlier this year gave agreement for a new set of research or trialling to do field operational trials of platoons of vehicles in real life conditions, so loaded vehicles operating on our motorway and trunk road network. So a third element of what we're doing. And the other thing that came out of the discussion this morning was this notion of how do you build people's confidence in the system? How do you understand what the issues are? So the fourth thing we're doing, alongside the trials of driverless cars, will be to put in what we call a behavioural study. So it'll be a separate study run by independent researchers to understand how communities where these vehicles are being used will interact with these driverless or highly automated vehicles. Because not everyone will enjoy the experience, I'm fairly sure of that. Some people will, some people will be very worried. We heard earlier about the car that's too polite. You have a pedestrian on a pedestrian crossing and the pedestrian doesn't want to go because they're not sure if they're going to get run down by the driverless car. So who goes first? Is it the driverless car? So there are all those issues. Now, we can laugh about that because we probably would be able to work our way around it. But there are people in our society that might find that really difficult. So from a UK point of view, we think it's important that we understand it and we take measures to address it in a kind of coordinated and collective way with everyone in society. Now, I also mentioned, when will we be doing that? And now is the answer. We are doing all these things now. The trials will be announced before the end of the year. We anticipate the vehicles will start to roll out early next year. I can't tell you exactly when because the different projects will have their own timetabling. But in addition to that, we're thinking about this notion of intelligent mobility. That's probably the next programme we have for the UK. So that's side one, the what and the when. Now we come on to the why. And I think from a government point of view, or from a Department for Transport point of view, we recognise that it's happening. We can't stop it. We don't want to stop it. We want to embrace these technology changes. So the question is, how do we do it? Now, we hear these two words, evolution and revolution. Now, for some people, probably most people in this room, because we're interested, it's evolution. But for some people, it will be revolution. They won't embrace the change as quickly as we will. So we need to think about that, and how do we build this hearts and minds of the broader community in understanding how these technologies not only will be used, but how they can help everyone in society. Now, I'm a regulator, and I'm conscious of time. I enjoy the work I do. I think I have a real contribution, and I'm sure everyone else here feels collectively we have a real contribution. I'm going to close by asking you a question in the way the Minister did. Who's been to the UK? A lot of people have, great. And you'll understand what a great place the UK is. But we're great at engineering, we're great at science, we're great at innovation. That's why most of the Formula One teams are in the UK, because we're really good at it. Now, I've just set the scene, I hope, for what we think is the future vision for a driverless, highly automated car system in the UK. We have the regulations moving forward. We will have them all sorted out in the next 18 months or so. So if you've got any ideas about doing driverless cars, the UK is a great place to do it. So we're doing trials, we've got the regulations sorted out, we're doing platooning, and that's the vision I will leave you with. Thank you very much.